Welcome to Channel 18. Today we have as our guest, my far right, Desiree Mobay, the director of the Brooks Academy Museum here in Harwich. And to my immediate right is Ian Ellison. He is the owner of Ellison Remodeling Company. And we're going to start with Desiree because she's going to give us a little background on the museum and how they got to this project. You want to start with this?
Thank you very much, Paul. Well, we're really excited about the 2013 season at Brooks Academy Museum, and one of the programs that's kicking off our schedule is a talk by Ian Ellison, sitting right here, and he's going to just give a little overview of the Crowell Barn project, which certainly has been much in the news for quite a while. Ian has the contract with the town to come up with the design plans. So this program is going to be this coming Sunday, March 10th, 2 o'clock at the museum. So we're really looking forward to it and hearing what Ian has to say.
We are very much looking forward to it. What can you tell us about your background in this field?
My degree is in engineering from McGill University, Montreal. And I started to work on little timber frame structures and bigger houses and barns, and started to restore old buildings and learning how to restore windmills and barns and churches and old houses all over the country, learning all over the country and in Canada and Europe with a Timber Framers Guild on this continent, and the United Kingdom UK Carpenters Fellowship over in Europe, and lots of talks and lots of work with that, so it's great.
So you've had a lot of experience.
Yeah, lots of experience. It's really fun experience. So
That's
it's been great. Yeah.
So it must be very interesting to work in a field where you're having fun.
Yes, it's great. Every day is great. Yeah, yeah.
Very good. And so we have the Crowell Barn that you're going to put up. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. It's in a tractor trailer. It's in a big trailer. It's all in pieces. And they've hired me to go through the tractor trailer and figure out what's in there, all the bits and pieces, and the big timbers, the small timbers, some wall sections, some pegs, a handful of this and that, and it's boards all over the place, and rafters and posts, all sorts of things. And I've been discovering little bits and pieces throughout the last several months of how they built this timber frame structure in 3 sections. Over time, and it's similar to figuring out a murder mystery, where I'm finding little hints of this and that, and I think those two go together. And then there's a photo from 1925, and oh, that's not right, that's missing, and there are all these things I've been figuring out, and it's really interesting.
It sounds a lot more interesting than you might think.
Oh yeah, it is, and it's not. It is. It's not just go build a barn. It's
just go build a barn.
It's put it back together the way it was built.
Okay.
So part of it was built in the 1800s. There are 2 little additions from 1902 or 1910, plus or minus, and very interesting. So
now this barn that we're going to see when it's built, that was in Harwich?
It was in East Harwich originally.
In East
yes,
Harwich.
which is where Elmer Crowell, lived with his family. But it will be reconstructed in Harwich Center on land that's next to the museum.
Now, is that going to require taking down some trees?
Well, I think there was a site that was deemed suitable for the project, which is large enough, and there was some clearing, I think, that was done. But, the site is getting ready, and the museum is certainly excited to be able to share this project with the town. And I know the town has been very supportive, so we're really looking forward to having it go forward.
You just asked about if they're going to take trees down, and I do believe a couple will come down. But we're going to be using some of those trees in the part of the new building.
The part of the new building?
To hold it together. Yeah.
Very good. To hold it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to explain that?
Yeah. In the old days, they didn't have nails. They didn't have bolts.
That's true.
And they used pegs.
Yes.
And they also call them tree nails, and that came to the word trunnel. They're known as a trunnel, and So we make pegs now by hand, just the way they used to in the 1200s through the 1800s, 1900s. And it's great to cut a tree down where we're going to build the house or the barn, and use parts of it and make some pegs so you can put them in and hold the old building together with the tree that was growing on site.
Now, are you going to cut any timbers from these trees?
No.
No. Just use the pegs?
Yes. Yes. If there are any timbers that are needed, or parts of timbers that are needed, a post bottom would be rotted. You have to scarf on another part. You would take a post from another building from the same period, like a mid-1800s barn, some boards or some 8x8s, and you would scarf them together or use them whole, whatever you had to do. So that when you walk into this structure, when it's finished, you're going to be in an old barn. There's not going to be new timbers over here. There might be a couple new pegs, but that's normal when you do a restoration.
And when you say scuffle, what does that mean?
Pardon me?
Did you say you scuffle things together?
No, not sure what I just said there. Scarf.
Scarf, okay.
So when you have a post bottom that's rotten,
yes.
and you can't just cut it off and stick on a new piece with some bolts. You got to use a scarf joint, which is a long joint, and it comes together so it secures the top timber, the top portion, the old portion, to a new bottom. And there's a scarf joint. It's used in boat building. It's used in timber frame construction. It's quite long, and it's under squinted both sides. It's kind of difficult to explain, but that stops it from twisting, and then it's pegged so it's strong in tension, compression, and twisting, and it holds it together without any glue or wood, or without any glue or steel, rather. So that's a scarf.
That's what a scarf is.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I think we're going to ask you to show us a little bit about what you're going to be doing, and so we're going to take a break.
Okay, sure.
Cue talent.
Desiree, Ian, and I are in front of a floorboard and an outside element of the old barn, and that's all I'm going to say, Ian. You better take it over from here.
Okay. This is an old beam from the original barn. It's a sill beam. It would have been holding the floor up, and it would have been sitting on a stone foundation, so big boulders. And it was touching the ground because you can see all the rot. There's a whole bunch of rot on the outside here, and it's all gone away. Now the other whole bunch of interesting things here. This was cut in a sawmill, and it was before they had a round saw blade, circular saw blade.
Oh, really?
They had saw blades that go up and down.
Yes. I know,
Okay, so they're very slow, very inefficient.
Okay.
Much faster to push a timber through a circular saw, but they wasn't. So this was before circular saws were around. You can tell that because all the lines are up and down. All the saw marks coming from the sawmill are going up and down, not circular. And then it came to the framing yard, and they put it on their sawhorses, and they laid it out with their pencils or their scratch marks, their knives. And then they had a handsaw because they didn't have electricity. So they take their handsaw, and there's a line here and a line here, and they're going, they cut right down, and then they use their chisels, and they chisel that out. No drilling needed. Okay. Now this is that little pocket is for a floor joist and another floor joist. Okay. This pocket on the top here, that's for a stud pocket. That's a 4x4 would have come down and had a little 1.5-inch tenon to stick in there. So not a big member. There's another one over there.
Now this all had to be cut beforehand.
All cut beforehand in the framing yard, wherever that was, the timber framers' framing yard. And in the corner, this is the corner of the building.
Yes.
And you can tell that it's cut flat here. There's no scarf joint, like I mentioned before. There's no tenon, but there are two mortises. So there's another big beam that comes this way with a tenon, and the tenon slides in there. Then they would have taken the peg, and they would have pegged it and put that flush. And then the post has another tenon, and that would slide down in this hole. Right. So this is the corner of the barn, and you can see that on a model here. My son Tanner Ellison from Harwich High, when he was in Harwich High School, he made this little timber frame model. So this corner is similar to this corner right here, this corner beam right here. Now the Crowell Barn, as I said before, there are 3 sections. The main section, the oldest section, is timber framed, and then there's a shed on one side and a shed on the other side One shed was his workshop, the other side was for storage. It was all different construction. There's a chimney coming up in the main part, and he had a potbelly stove. That's how he would heat his workspace. He had a window right here with a bandsaw in there. Upstairs, he stored all his wood. Back here on the back wall, he had someone local. They would go hunting for ducks, and then he'd have them stuffed in his barn. He put them in his barn so we would measure them. So when he's carving a Canada goose or another type of duck, he would take the actual stuffed goose or duck, stuffed duck, and measure it, you know, and, with calipers. And you can see all this in the picture, all his tools. He had tons of tools. So very, very interesting, all these things we've been finding out.
Would there be any insulation in this?
No. We're going to do the insulation. We're going to insulate it. It's going to be designed so that you build a timber frame, you put the building up, and then we put the old boards on. So on the inside, the walls are old boards, just like the Mr. Crowell would have seen.
Yes.
And then we put rigid insulation on the outside of that and sandwich it, and then shingles on the outside of that. So it will be fully insulated, but when you're in there, it'll be just like it was when Mr. Crowell was carving his ducks.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And Desiree, do you have anything that you'd like to close with?
Well, again, we're really excited about this project going forward, and to have Elmer Crowell's workshop where he carved all these wonderful decoys and carvings, you know, to once again be in Harwich. When it's complete, we hope that it will not only, you know, tell the story of Elmer Crowell's life and his legacy, but also be a place where people can come and watch, you know, bird carvings today, demonstrations, maybe take a class, you know, and do some, get involved themselves. So we're hoping that it's not only just a place to, you know, see what Elmer Crowell was all about, and but also to try some bird carving on your own.
Okay, sounds like an interesting place.
Yes, it will be.
It will be.
Yes.
Very good, and we'll owe all that to you.
No, no, to carpenters from 150 years ago.
Well, thank you both for joining us today with this exhibition, and we certainly wish you the best of luck with the Crowell Barn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.